Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about throwing in reverse. Yeah, let's go. Welcome. I am glad you're here, and I'm glad to be here. I hope you're doing great today. We are going to talk about throwing in reverse, but not the whole pot, okay? We're going to talk about something I mentioned in a previous video where I learned recently to shape the inside of a bowl by throwing the opposite direction that I normally throw. I normally throw with the wheel going counterclockwise, and then recently I learned from a friend of mine how when you go to shape the inside of the bowl, to be able to use the rib and your dominant hand, which is usually on the outside of the pot, to use it on the inside of the pot, you kind of need to reverse the wheel so then you can support the outside of the pot with your other hand. So for me, I'm right-handed, and so to spin the wheel clockwise to shape the inside of the bowl with my dominant hand, of course you have to have either a kick wheel that you can reverse manually or a wheel that does have the option to reverse it the other direction. Most wheels come like that nowadays, but if you have an old one, this is not going to work for you. So apologize about that in advance, but thankfully both of my wheels do go in reverse. My old wheel that I have did not, but I never threw that way until recently. So but I'm going to go through the process of just throwing the beginning of the bowl here without much talking. Maybe we'll just speed that up. We'll go through that, and I'll bring you guys back, or at least I'll let you see this part, but then I'll bring you back and we'll start talking about how the advantages and the tips and tricks that I've learned about how to use the wheel going in reverse to shape the inside of a bowl. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's get going. I'm going to take a 6-pound clay ball here, and then I'm going to cut it in half in order to center it in 2 different pieces. And I need a bat. All right, there we go. I guess I decided to make it a little more challenging for myself by hitting the rim of the bowl right as I was done pulling it. So you probably saw I had to fix that there for a minute. But I'm going to change the camera angle so you guys can see more of what I'm doing on the inside of the bowl. And then we'll be back and we'll talk about that technique. All right, here we are. I still have the wheel in the normal direction. What I'm going to do first before I work with my rib on the inside is add some water to the outside so that my left hand now that's going to be on the outside will not be sticking to the clay. So I'll need to add a little bit of water to the outside. Before I do that, I'm going to talk about the ribs that I used to do this. When I made the sink video, I couldn't find this rib. This is really my favorite one to do it. And this is a Mud Tools rib, but I also have that Kemper rib that I used. I like using these rubber ones, number one, because they're really curved, and they also help make the inside of the bowl really smooth. So neither one of them are sponsoring this video, by the way, but just two of the tools I like to use. And so yeah, what we're going to do first is I'm going to take sponge, get water on the sponge, and while it's still going in the normal direction that I throw, I'm going to take the sponge and add water to the outside. I'm just going to fill the sponge and then kind of hold it as I go down the side of the bowl on the outside, just to add a little bit of water all the way down the outside, and I'll feel it with my left hand here as I'm doing it to make sure I get water all the way down. All right, now I'm going to reverse my wheel. Wet both of my hands, and now you can see I can use I'm working on the left side of the bowl now, but now I can use my dominant hand, which is my right hand, on the inside of the bowl, and I support it on the outside with my left hand, just like I normally would throwing, except now like I said, my right hand's on the inside, my left hand's on the outside. But what I can do is I can shape this bowl, and this depends on the style of bowl I'm making, but now I want to make this bowl wider. So I'll start at the rim, and I can kind of push out as I'm going down, and then it allows me to kind of shape as I go down. And when I get to the bottom, I can get rid of that line there too. I try to throw, when I open the clay ball, I try to throw it with a little bit of a curved bottom anyways, so that kind of helps with not having that line at the bottom that separates the bottom of the bowl from the sidewall. But also using one of these rounded ribs helps with that as well. I really thought this was going to be awkward when I first tried it, and it did take a minute to kind of get used to, and you have to kind of learn how to work with it. Number one, I'd say the biggest advantage is if you use stiffer clay, you can really push on this more without affecting without it having any chance of falling. You can really push on the clay a lot more. Of course, you're supporting it on the outside with your other hand, just like you normally would. But this really allows you to shape more effectively and more evenly, like I said, because most people, their dominant hand has way more steadiness and ability to feel where you need to push and how much pressure, all those kind of things that really help you in shaping when you're shaping a normal piece, like on the outside with that dominant hand, but now on the inside. So there, I love the shape of this. I've got a really smooth curve all the way from top to bottom. The only thing I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to lay over this rim, and so I'm going to spin it back the other way because I like to lay it over with my right hand as well, but I want it spinning the other way. So I'll turn the wheel, add a little bit of water to the rim inside and out. I'm going to lay over that rim, and then I might actually reverse the wheel again to kind of work on that shape one more time once I lay the lip over. And when we're done with this one, I'm probably going to throw another bowl, and I'll bring you guys back when we're at this same stage again, and maybe from a different camera angle, and we'll do one more to show you guys this technique. All right, so I'm supporting it on the outside again while I lay it over with my rib. Now I'm gonna reverse the wheel one more time, and now I can work on this spot where I've laid that over. And there we go. All right, go back to my normal direction one more time to sponge off that little bit of spot there. And I didn't add enough water to the outside that I actually have to sponge the outside. So, and I've worn most of it off with my hand being the support on the outside there. All I'm gonna do is add a little bit of water right to the center just to make my swirl in the bottom. And then sponge that out. And it is done, finished. Oh, I'm gonna get that drip. There we go. All right, I will bring you guys back when I get another one ready to use my rib on the inside, and I'll do it from the other side of the wheel so that you can get a different angle, and we'll see you in just a second. All right, here we go with another bowl ready to lay over. This one is 5 pounds, the last one was 6. Not that that matters a whole lot. You can do this technique with any size bowl or clay ball. But I'm gonna start out by doing the same thing by wetting the outside with my sponge and then reversing the wheel. Alright, start at the rim like I did with the last one, and like I said, just pushing out but supporting it on the outside with my other hand and working my way from the top to the bottom. I think that probably works better than trying to go from the bottom up. At least with the way I'm feeling it, it just feels better. Plus I can lay it out more, and then I can make a fluid shape from where I started, how laid out, how the shape of what it is from where I started laying it over at the rim, going down to the bottom. And then I can also work on that, like I said, getting that smooth transition at the bottom of the bowl. One of the main reasons I started doing this also is because I realized that some of the designs I'm doing with glaze on the inside of my bowls look better if I have a really smooth surface and a really gradual slope. And so figuring out a way to get that smooth surface and gradual slope was a motivation for me. And then, like I said, seeing my friend Ron talk about this and picking up this technique. So just like I said, I wanted to share this with you guys. It's just going to take some practice, just like anything else, but hopefully you're picking up by watching what I'm doing here, some little tips and techniques of how to do this. Now, if you add too much water to the inside or the outside while you're doing this, you're also going to run into trouble, because the more water this clay soaks up as you're messing with it, the more chance you have of collapsing the bowl, especially if you're going as wide as I am. You can do this technique with any shaped bowl, and the taller the bowl is and the less shape it has as far as a belly, the less chance you have of collapsing it. But like I said, it can work with any size. But if you're working with stiffer clay and not as much water, then you're going to have better success without losing the bowl in the process. All right, there we go. Let's turn it back to normal rotation and put a swirl on the bottom. Sponge off any little bit of excess water, and that one will be done. All right, everybody, there you go. I have the 2 bowls made. I actually made a third one in between there, but here's the two that I did on camera from two different angles, and I really hope that this video and the little tips that I gave you there help you in your process of making bowls. This will take a little bit of getting used to, as it did for me, for you to get used to throwing in reverse like that. But I think working on the inside of a bowl, it is well worth learning this technique to get the inside of that bowl nice and smooth and kind of a fluid curve to the inside of your bowls. Like I said, no matter what size, shape bowl you're making, this technique will work. And even doing plates, I've seen, actually that's what my buddy Ron was making when he told me this technique, or not told me, but he was talking to Instagram. But he was actually making plates, but I thought I can use that. So keep your eyes and ears open for everything. You can learn from just about anywhere and from just about anybody. So sometimes what to do, sometimes what not to do, but you can learn from just about anybody. I'll also alter the rim on these usually because of being just makes them look nicer, makes it add a little flair to the rim. I might add a couple crimps or some flutes. Also, just a little tip, if you ever have a bowl that's a little bit not perfectly centered when you finish, altering the rim can help hide that. So there's a little extra tip for you. I won't charge you extra for that one, but that's a good little tip there. If you have a bowl that's just not quite perfect when you're done throwing it, if you alter the rim, put some flutes or a couple crimps in the edge, that can help hide that unevenness. And now if the bottom warps, you can't really hide that. If it wobbles once it's sitting on the table, you're not going to be able to hide that. But if it just can, a little bit in the rim, you can help hide that. And that also helps with these really wide, shallow bowls like this. I also try to dry these fairly slow, number one, so they don't crack. And number two, drying evenly helps to combat the warping of something like this. But anyway, there you go. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And thank you always for being here. And we'll see you in the next video. See ya. Bye.
Sorry for seaside. I was talking about you testing. Is this ready?
Hold on, guys. You're getting too close to me. I can't get you in the picture.
Wow, how is that?